All right, so we've installed connected power. You don't necessarily need control signal from the elevator control system to run the setup for the gate and operator. So we have a manual left and right on the top up here. But before you do that and run any setup, you want to set where your limit switches are. So typically you take the panel that's going to interact with your slam post or the daylight line and run it all the way to the end. You can see how the magnet on the gate arm back here is touching off on the angle bracket. You basically want to run that all the way there. You can then pop that off, and you should hear a click on the limit switch. It might be hard to hear on the video, but you hear a little click. Most of the time, this limit switch here is going to be right at the end when you are putting it on the slam post side. If you have to hang the track off into a shaft, dead space over here, then this limit switch may move back a little bit. And essentially to do that, all you do is take a screwdriver, loosen off the screw here, and then you can slide that limit switch one way or the other. When you're happy with that position, you basically just tighten it down. Check to make sure you hear a click by just manually moving the guide block here. If you don't hear a click, then it may be tilted a little bit, or the switch may need to be, the armature might need to be bent down. It should be fine when you get it, but that may be a troubleshooting thing. If you're not hearing that click, it will not operate properly. Once you have that side set, you can basically move this manually the whole way down. It has a little bit of resistance because the motor is basically pushing back on it. And then on the other end, you can basically set the exact position with the other limit switch block. Same process. Loosen the screw, you can move it back and forth to wherever you want. So again, you move it until you hear that click, then you're happy with it where it is. Tighten it down. Your limit switch endpoints are now set. Once the mechanical part is done, now we can run through the setup cycle with the electrical and control portion. So once you've got your limit switch endpoints set, they're not permanently set. You could still adjust them if you're not happy with they are after we run through a setup cycle here. On the top of the operator, there are 4 toggle buttons. There's on-off for main power. You have a 3-position toggle switch here, which is a manual operation, left, right, and if you don't want either, then you can leave it in the middle position. Then you have a speed setting, either slow or fast, and then you have setup. So if you want to do a setup where you want to have the PLC learn where the endpoints are, then you have to click this to on. And now we're into a setup mode. When we're in setup mode, we want the guide block with this angle bracket and the gate to be with the gate in the fully deployed or closed position, so that the system, once you start into setup, it knows that this is the full closed position. If you don't do that, then it's not going to learn properly, so that's very important to do that. Once it's in that position, you can basically go, okay, well I now want to go left, and basically press the toggle button and it goes left. You can see it going very slowly, and this is part of the learning cycle. It goes slow so that you don't damage anything in the process. It will come to the other end, and it touched off on that limit switch. So now it's saying that is my other endpoint. Now if you're not happy with where that endpoint is, say it's not pocketing far enough into the pocket, then what you can do is you can go back the other way, and then you can adjust this limit switch again. So say I wasn't happy. I can then move it back a little bit, or I can move it forward, whichever. And then I can just go left again. So you're still in setup. You don't have to start that process again. You can just go back to left. All right, so say I'm happy with that. I can move the manual operation switch into neutral, and then I can click off. Oh. We can go all the way back to right. Yeah, I made a mistake there. You actually have to go the full cycle one way and then the other so that it knows both the full closed and the full open position. So now it's finished one learning cycle. You put it into neutral. Now you can click off into setup. You can see it now automatically moves. It is going through one last cycle to show you that it has learned where everything is supposed to be. So your full closed and full open positions. So don't get scared that it's doing something that it's not supposed to. It's supposed to do this once when you exit the setup mode. And that's how you know you've finished with setup. So that's now finished. You're out of setup. Now, that was a pretty slow moving gate. If I go back and I go left now, you can see it moves quite a bit faster because I had the speed setting up here set to fast. So that's another indicator that you're out of setup mode because it's now moving quickly as long as that speed setting is set to fast. So if I toggle to slow, it would move back in that slow speed, but that's essentially setup. You're complete.